Wolcen Lords of Mayhem gives me a lot of reasons to want to love it on one hand, and several reasons why I can't on the other. The action RPG gameplay is respectable and even ahead of the class in some areas. The story isn't especially groundbreaking, but it's told with plenty of flair and enthusiasm. But all of that doesn't count for too much when you're as likely to lose a boss fight because of bugs rather than the intended mechanics. The two-chambered heart of a hack-and-slash adventure like Wolcen is made up of combat and character customization. And in both of these areas, Wolcen does a great job when technical issues aren't causing it to have palpitations. It differs from its genre mates in some subtle but positive ways, like the fact that you can't buffer special attacks. That means if you're holding down the left mouse for a basic swing, you can't queue up a special move as part of a combo unless you let go of that button first and wait for the animation to finish. Specials also have a relatively long cooldown, and your character has a limited number of dodge rolls that recharge slowly over time. The combination of all of this heavily discourages button mashing, making for precise and exciting tactical encounters that made me consider timing and my resources carefully. The voice acting for the main characters is pretty good, especially Stephen Hartley's rumbly, imposing Inquisitor Hemlock.
Pain is a merciful teacher.
The gothic, dark fantasy setting plagued by demons is definitely derivative of Diablo and its descendants, sometimes enough to make me roll my eyes a little. But Wolcen uses it to tell a tale with impactful character drama, and some of the architecture and armor designs show a genuine effort to establish a unique visual identity within the narrow boundaries of its chosen subgenre. Aside from the piles and piles of mostly unmemorable randomized gear you'll pick up in the course of the roughly 30-hour campaign, your Wolcen hero is shaped by active skills, which level up and unlock new upgrades the more you use them, and the rotating Gate of Fate passive skill tree. The possibilities are practically endless here, and there are some really cool special nodes to unlock further down the tree. As a frothing child of fury, I could unlock a new character resource that increased my offense but lowered my defense the longer I stayed in combat. A high-level Time Weaver can do some really wild and awesome stuff, like delaying most of the damage from an incoming attack to land a few seconds later. Since each ring can be rotated independently, putting together unique and out-there multi-class builds is not only viable, but encouraged. And compared to a game like Path of Exile, Wolcen never made me feel like I was being punished for taking abilities that sounded cool instead of following a build guide. My enjoyment of all of this came to a screeching halt due to some prominent bugs though, and not the kind that buzz around and drop treasure. They're most prevalent in boss fights, which should be the challenging and exciting culmination of each of the three acts. And these fights are pretty well designed too, which makes the technical failings even more disappointing. The Act 2 boss took me a couple dozen attempts, and at least half of my failures were caused by clipping through the floor, or being launched out of the arena in an unintended way and getting irretrievably stuck on a ledge that's not even supposed to be accessible, or some similar nonsense. The final boss, whom I won't show here for spoiler reasons, glitched out on me 10 times in a row, in the exact same way each time, before I finally gave up on the fight. I wasn't even able to finish the main campaign due to this. Endgame is a super important part of an action RPG, but I didn't get to see any of it in Wolcen because of these issues. Is it any good? Does it stack up against its competitors? I'd love to find out someday. It's very difficult to recommend a game with such severe bugs that I couldn't even finish it. But for the 30-ish hours I played, I was usually enjoying myself a fair bit. The meaningful tweaks to combat, novel skill tree, and the fact that the story was never treated as an afterthought left an impression on me. All things considered, a hearty helping of technical polish is really the only thing stopping Wolcen from competing with the best action RPGs available today. I hope it gets the love it needs to overcome a shaky start, because there's a lot here to get excited about. For more tactical action, check out our reviews of Warcraft 3 Reforged and Fire Emblem Three Houses Expansion Pass. And for everything else, stick with IGN.